Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host, and today I'm here with Leslie Alvarez, and she is an entrepreneur as well, and has done some side hustles earlier, but now she's full-time into the entrepreneur. So today we're going to talk about her story and the advice she has for you. So Leslie, without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, Charisse. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm so grateful that you could have me here today. I love sharing my story. I love trying to help other people know that there's a path forward. I found myself at the age of 23, pregnant with my second child, jobless, and my husband wanted a divorce. And my mother-in-law, who did not speak English, very low income immigrant family, said, I don't like what my son's done to you, but I want to help you help yourself. And so she gave me the first $100 and a grocery list and sent me to the Mexican tienda down the street and said, go buy all this stuff, bring it back, and I'll teach you how to sell tamales. And then I made them. She says, now take them back to that grocery store, sell them out of the cooler in the back of your trunk, get the money, go back inside, buy some more supplies, and do it all over again.
Wow.
And the rest was history from there. I mean, even when I was younger as a child, I used to make cookies and sell them to my school teachers, and I pet sat for different people. And, I did little things here and there. But from that point forward as a mom, the tamale pot was my salvation. Every time I had a struggle, a Christmas that I couldn't come up with the money for, a job loss, anything like that. My kids wanting to play club volleyball, club basketball, extra expenses in general. Break out the tamale pot, make the money, and do what I needed to do. So I was a little bit of an entrepreneur all along, but I was really scared to give up that guaranteed paycheck and go all in any kind of business on my own. So I kind of dabbled in the side hustle thing for a long time.
You did the responsible thing too, though, because making sure that you had the stability, that's what I did for a long time, the stability, because when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes depending on your industry, you don't know. For you, people do live paycheck to paycheck, or they don't make very much money. And so it's nice for your kids to actually see where you had that job, but now we need extra money. So this is what we're also going to do. So it's the side hustle until you feel like you can branch out on your own.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was just going to say it, like you said, it was something that the kids saw. It was a great example for them. I won't say that I did it at the time to be an example to them, but they each now have their own side hustles. They started their own side hustles at the age of 12. So here's a funny story for you. My kids, you know how it is when you have teenagers in high school and middle school. Every other day they come home with something else, another t-shirt for $20. They need more money for this field trip. They need this for this, whatever the case is. And it's all fair. And you want to give your kids what you can give them. And you don't want them to be the one kid that didn't get to go on the field trip. So you come up with the money, you make it happen. But it isn't always in the budget, right? And so I finally one day sat them down. I think my daughter was about 16 and my son was 13 at the time. And I put all of our finances into QuickBooks and set it up. And I sat them down and showed them the P&L statement. And I showed them at the bottom of the P&L statement that negative. And I said, that's called the deficit. And that means we are not making enough money to pay for the expenses that are coming in here. And so we're going to set a new budget, a new family budget, because every time I set myself a goal financially, you guys come and blow it. And you don't know that you're blowing it because you don't know what my goal is. And I thought it was important for them to understand what the goal was and set them some parameters. So my 13-year-old son, being very entrepreneurial, says to me, because I had already budgeted allowances and things. He goes, so if we have things in our room, things that you bought, but that we don't use, if we sell them, does that money get to stay with us as extra allowance, or does it have to go draw down the deficit? I said, guys, if y'all are that eager and you can hustle and sell your own stuff like that, you can keep the cash. And so I swear they both cleaned their closets, cleaned their bedrooms. I mean, we had Poshmark, eBay going. They were selling and hustling, and it was hilarious. But that's when they really, I mean, if you ever want your kids to clean their room, that's the way to get it done.
That is amazing that they at that age. I mean, there's so many things that you did so right. And I love that. Like my parents never wanted us to worry about money. I think because growing up, they worried about money. So usually you do the opposite of what your parents. And so they really never talked to us about it. But we know they spent it and we know that we had to work. Like we had paper routes from seventh grade. We did 400 papers every stinking day. And if we went on vacation, that was always fun to try to get somebody to take over. But we had money because of that, and I was able to pay for college, and I did a ton of babysitting. And so it's interesting that they knew at such a young age, and they started thinking, how can I make money and what can I do? And that you were that open with them to say, hey, let's talk about this. Because so many times parents, there was a time where we were really struggling as well. And my son would always talk about, no, mom, I don't want you to have to spend money. I don't want you to have to spend money. And now it's totally changed. I'm like, get a job. But it's interesting to see what money can do or can't do, and how you're like, okay, if we want to do this, how can we earn money to be able to, instead
Yeah.
of we can't afford it, it's what's the solution? That's great.
Yeah, and my son and daughter were the same way. They hated coming home asking for money, and like you, I had grown up struggling. So I really didn't want them to feel the pressure and feel the stress, but I also needed to be transparent with them and let them know, right? So that they didn't grow up thinking that they were just super entitled and money grew on trees. And now they're 26 and 24, and they're very financially savvy, great credit, no debt. Like they are on point. And I think that transparent conversation with them and candidness was very important to making that happen.
That's great. So you left your W-2 though, right? And now you're a full-time entrepreneur. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I wrote my book, When Life Gives You Lemons, Make Tamales. I felt that, first of all, I felt that I had a calling to share my story of struggling and overcoming adversities through my life of raising my kids as a single parent, because I believe that there are a lot of people who internalize things, and then there are people like me that just openly share. And it's people like me that just am an open book that like to share, that help the people that internalize it know and recognize that they're not alone. So I thought that great opportunity. I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to share my story. I want to help people. What do you need to do that? Write a book. So I wrote the first book, The Life Gives You Lemons, Make Tamales, with that intention. And then about 6 months after I self-published the book, I suffered a unplanned loss. The man that I was seeing passed away suddenly in a car accident, and that sent me through a little bit of a tailspin of what's life, where am I going, what am I doing, and all of those things. And I realized two things. One, I was not working, I was still working for other people. One, if I quit and went into speaking and such, that wasn't really scalable for me. It also was solely dependent on me. If something happens to me, the money stops. I really hadn't saved very well for retirement as it was all those years. And I wanted to build more of a legacy. And so I decided at that point that I was going to go into what I do already. I manage community associations. I've done it for 27 years. And so I decided to open up my own management firm while also still doing the speaking engagements and education that I wanted to do, because I felt that's my calling. That's what I felt my heart is tied to. And they say you never work a day in your life if you do what you love, right? That would be amazing to be able to do fully by myself and love that. But at the same time, I still needed to protect myself, protect my kids, and build something for them. And so I went ahead and launched the management company. And they both are actually helping me with the company. So it's a family owned and operated kind of thing, very boutique style. And so now I'm completely unemployed, working for myself. It's awesome. And it's now been 7 months, and I've scaled the company very, very well and added a few employees already. And hopefully, I'll be able to stay out of the weeds of my industry and be able to focus more on the growth of the business and my speaking. Because again, that's where my heart is helping others know and recognize how to overcome challenges.
See, I love that you have, like, it's very well thought out and it's meticulously planned, where this is what I want to do, but I recognize that I still need to do something else until that takes off and goes where it needs to go. So let's kind of talk about that if you're okay with it.
Absolutely.
Starting out with, you've been there for 7 months, you're scaling it. What are some things that you've learned as you're scaling that you wish you would have known before?
Well, I mean, I did a lot of prep work ahead of officially launching. 6 months before I started, before I officially gave my resignation and started out on my own, I had already started all of the web design and signing contracts with my software providers and vetting out who I was going to work with so that scaling would not be as challenging and as difficult because obviously if you just start off one day ripping the band-aid off, as you start to scale, you get overwhelmed because now you need to implement new technology or things of that nature along the way. And so I actually invested initially in doing all that before I ever told anyone that I was doing this. So that it was all kind of set up, configured already. The systems were there. The email was set up, like SharePoint, where I can share files with my employees and everything very quickly. I did all that homework. And even then, we're scaling up and it's a lot. And I'm really tired. And I'm working all weekend. I'm breaking all my own boundaries of live life, work life balance, but I know that the end is in sight. I've hired another employee. She's given her 2 weeks notice. She'll be here in another week. I just have to keep holding on, treading water for one more week. But the bottom line is you can do all the prep work out there. I definitely recommend you do it, but you still are going to be treading water until you really get to that point where you've got enough staff to help you.
And I think that that's part of it is just launch because you're right. You think that you could be as ready and prepared as possible, but you're not. You're not. You
Yeah.
might as well just launch and then do it as you go.
Yeah.
It's like there's some things you do need to be prepared for. But okay, so let's talk about your speaking business because there's a lot of people that that could be listening that they want to be speakers, they want to be these coaches, or they want to write a book. So how do you get started in speaking?
Well, again, that's the thing, right? Everybody that speaks has a book. So that's why I did the When Life Gives You Lemons, Make Tamales. And from there, I really started focusing on my industry education, getting out there more and more, teaching the classes to do the job that I do, community association management. So that really got me a lot of good opportunities to get in front of people. And then from there, after they enjoy my teaching, they come up to me after the class and say, "Hey, we would love for you to come and talk to our staff." So we work with a law firm. Can you charge to come in and speak to our staff? What other presentations do you have? And so then from there, I have presentations on imposter syndrome, different topics that are not necessarily community management focused, so that I'm able to engage and get the paying speaking engagements and then move up and keep moving from there. So I'm still not on the big stage yet. Yesterday, I had 140 attendees at a class that I did.
Wow,
So
great.
that was a solid size audience, but I'm still not on the big stage. I did actually hire a speaking coach to help me write my first TED Talk so that I can get in front of and do a TED Talk, a TEDx. And I'm working on trying to get that scheduled right now as well.
Congratulations, because you're
Thank
taking
you.
the steps, and that's what it takes is you just have to start taking the steps, and you have a goal, you execute, and you keep going forward. But if you were to just say, "Yeah, I want to be a speaker," and then nothing ever happens, you have to take the steps and go for it. So that to have 140 people, especially in this type of environment, and it's busy right now in the holidays. So that's fantastic. Congratulations. I love hearing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, as a mom, you're a single mom for a while actually. So what is your recommendation for moms? Like, imagine sitting on a park bench, a 9-month pregnant woman comes and talks to you, and you could give her any advice in the world. It's not just about being a new mom. What advice would you give her?
To me, it's just keep your chin up. I tell everybody all the time, you're going to get knocked off at the knees. Some things are going to happen to you that are you're going to want to be on the floor. Physical, like literally on the floor, you're knocked off. And you have that opportunity while you're on the ground to either feel sorry for yourself, grow bitter at the situation, or plot your comeback. So I like to say that when I've been knocked off at the knees 3 times in my life. Once somebody shoved a chair underneath me, like to keep me from falling on the ground. But when that happened, my mind was just constantly spinning of what am I going to do? And I like to always make sure that my plans have a backup plan. because when something starts to go wrong, I want to know how to pivot quickly to be able to adjust. So you just got to be flexible. You got to stay positive. And when you're on the ground, it's okay to sit there for a minute, honor it, cry, beat your head on the floor if you want to, whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself like feel that and let yourself feel that. But then plot that comeback and get back up off the ground quickly and regroup.
It's true. It's definitely true. You always have to have plan A, B, C, because
I grew up being a really big Scarlett O'Hara fan. And I don't know if you remember, she used to say, or she said the line, I can't think about that today, because if I think about that today, I'll go crazy. I'll think about that tomorrow. And that's like, I'm on the ground. I'm feeling this today. I'll think about that tomorrow. I wake up the next morning. It's a whole new day, and you deal with what you got to deal, what's coming at you.
Yeah, it's true. Great attitude. And you have to have it, because being a single mom is tough when it's just you as the parent.
Yeah.
All right. So what questions have I not asked you that you wish I would have?
Well, I actually have my second book coming out February 28th. I'll tell you. That is called Hot Mess Express. Ditch the drama, conquer life's curveballs, and reclaim your life after loss. And it is all about the story of when my boyfriend had passed away and overcoming that grief and really turning that around into giving me the power and the energy to do what I'm doing today with both the company and the speaking, and really finding that purpose. And so I'm just really excited about that launch. It'll be out on Amazon live on February 28th.
Congratulations. I love that.
Thank you.
Well, if our listeners wanted to find you, how would they do that?
So I have a website, lesliealvarez.com. You can visit my website at any time and schedule a consultation or book me for a speaking presentation, Zoom presentation, in person, whatever you're looking for. I'm happy to help.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
Moms, just take Leslie's advice, and she is a perfect example of what the potential is in you and what you can accomplish, because there's nothing too great. And if you really want it, take those baby steps and make a plan and go execute it. So go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.